Right, welcome again. So, as you all know, the discussion topic for today is an introduction to Arhatic Yoga. And I almost feel like a librarian here today because I have a thick stack of books with me, things to discuss, right? So, I've got some slides I'll refer to as well. But again, as I had mentioned in the group, I would appreciate if we can have this as a discussion. So, if you have any questions, anything that appears a little funky or not clear, if you have any questions, please feel free to just stop me wherever you want and we'll get on with it. If I'm not able to answer or if I can't answer because it's part of the course, then, well, we'll see. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, a slide should come on your screen now. Can you guys see it? Okay, good. So the discussion that we're going to have today is based on the teachings of, this is all the teachings of Master Choa Kok Sui. Arhatic Yoga is by Master Choa Kok Sui. There is no other version of Arhatic Yoga around. So no ambiguity there. But we will refer to 4 books today. Let's see how much time permits. But what I want to do for the session today is read a lot more than usual so that we get an understanding of Arhatic Yoga directly from the teacher and how he intended it. So we'll see if we're able to actually utilize all of them. But the ones which we'll start with is the level 1 book, The Ancient Science and Art of Pranic Healing. We will refer to the Advanced Pranic Healing book as well. We will continue to refer to the Lotus Sutra. This one is Beyond the Mind, the Golden Lotus Sutras on meditation. As always, for people who haven't come across this, these are essentially quotations by Master Choa Kok Sui. They have been pulled from teachings and lectures over probably a decade or so in different parts of the world, and they've been organized by topic. So some of the things, while they may appear out of context, it's brilliant. It's one of my favorite. But we're going to introduce a new book today, which is called The Origin of Modern Pranic Healing and Arhatic Yoga. So for those of you who are interested in origin story, well, normally associated with comics and movies, but this is a very good origins book. It's got a bunch of stories and how things started. Master Choa Kok Sui experimented and came up with the system of both pranic healing and Arhatic Yoga. So we will refer to this quite a lot. Okay. Again, a reminder, if in case anybody needed this, Arhatic Yoga is by Master Choa Kok Sui. Everything that we discuss here is based on his teachings. As I said, we will be doing a lot more reading directly from the book, but there are certain things that I have summarized. I'll try and keep my opinions to myself, but if they do creep in, and if you don't like them, those are completely from me. Everything in the book is from the teacher. Okay, and we'll use a normal structure. Try and be systematic about this thing. So remind ourselves why we are here, what is Arhatic Yoga, what are the benefits of it, and what is the structure of it. That's essentially the way I would want to conduct the session today. So let's get on with it. Okay. Uh, First of all, let's define what is Arhatic Yoga. Okay, so I'm going to start with the book. This is Lotus Sutras. Page numbers there at the bottom are for my reference, so I don't jump around. But if anybody has the book, feel free. Okay. Okay, pranic healing is a bridge to spirituality. It opens a new horizon. Arhatic yoga consists of yogic techniques designed to help us develop spiritually. It is prehistoric in origin. Arhatic yoga consists of techniques and energy. Energy makes the techniques work. Therefore, the blessings of the guru and the higher beings are very important. Arhatic yoga is eclectic. People from many religions practice Arhatic techniques. You don't have to change your religion. You don't have to have a religion. Uh, and you don't have to worry about any religious connotations here. In Arhatic yoga, you are given the freedom to think, to make your own choice, your own decisions. Great beings are not restricted to a single religion. Religions are interconnected. Their roots are deep. So this is how Master Choa describes Arhatic yoga in one of his books. We'll read more from others as well. Uh, Before I get on to what I have on the slide, I wanted to refer to the level 1 book. The reason I always keep coming back to level 1 book is just to remind ourselves that the first course that we did the first book that we ever studied, it's got so many teachings that we might have ignored. I'm pretty sure we have ignored. So it's always a good idea to keep going back to this book. And the beauty of it is there's an index at the back. So if you want to just look up a topic, you just go to the index. And for example, Arhatic yoga, you'll be able to find it very, very easily. But again, I would highly encourage that you take time and read the books, especially if you're coming to the class in October. Please read the book before you come in. All four of these, by the way, if you can. It would be nice. Yeah. So this is how Master Choa introduced Arhatic yoga in the level 1 book. There are meditation techniques which are far more advanced than meditation on twin hearts. One of these is Arhatic yoga, which is only for the chosen few. So if anybody wants to feel special, this is the time. Arhatic yoga is called the yoga of synthesis. It deals with activation of chakras, awakening of kundalini through a safe and systematic method. One of the common and serious mistakes among esoteric practitioners is to try to awaken kundalini in order to activate the chakras. A true advanced yogi, a qigong practitioner, is aware of the necessity of purifying oneself and substantially activating the chakras first before awakening the kundalini. Otherwise, serious pranic congestion will occur if too much kundalini energy goes to the relatively underactivated chakras, which are still small in size, resulting in serious physical ailments or discomforts. Hence, the practice of Arhatic yoga should preferably be under the guidance of an advanced guru or master. In this case, like Master Choa Kok Sui. So I like this. Your safety protocols are at the very beginning. Any disclaimers before people start making any funny experimentation? So this is how Master Choa has introduced Arhatic yoga to us. I can read from other books also, but I won't. I will let you guys figure that out. But let's define this, right? A little. First of all, what is Arhatic yoga? As many of you would have realized by now, Arhat is not an English word. So you will not find it in regular dictionary. But what Arhat means, and there are many meanings and many serious interpretations of it. But if we keep it simple, we're talking about somebody with a very high level of spiritual development. Okay? And it is important to understand what spiritual development means. Again, we will keep this simple. At this point, we will say a high level of spiritual development implies a higher connection with the soul and more of soul energy in the bodies, or soul being more in control of thoughts, emotions, words, and our actions, right? There are many ways of actually defining that. So spiritual development, I was once thinking about this. If we talk about this topic itself, it can take a long time. But we'll talk about the method to get there. Now, Arhatic yoga is a structured and systematic path to achieve accelerated spiritual growth. Now, I want us to just take a minute and look at every component of this. It is structured, it is systematic, and it is to achieve accelerated spiritual growth. And there are reasons why these things are true, and we'll cover all of these today. But I think it is important to note, and this is where the uniqueness of Arhatic yoga comes into being, right? Master Choa quite often talked about Arhatic yoga and other systems, and even saying that there are systems and there are teachers and gurus which are probably more powerful. But the important thing is what is accessible to us. Uh, just because there might be teachings and techniques, well, there are practiced by people in different parts of the world, but they're not available to us. The beauty of Arhatic yoga is it is actually available to all of us, to public. Of course, there are prerequisites, and we'll discuss them if you guys have questions around that. But that is something which is super important to understand. That these teachings are accessible to us. Just 1 second, please. My laptop is acting up as always. Can you still see me and the slides? Okay, good. So let's talk about structured. When I say structured, it means there are components of it. There is a very specific structure of A, B, C, D. There are 5. We'll come to that. When I say systematic, it means there's a process and there's a sequence of activities that need to be done to achieve the outcome that we need here. The outcome that we are talking about here is spiritual development. So if this system or this program is applied in the way it is intended to be, it should result in spiritual development. And if you do take this as a scientific experiment, you will be able to validate that. Of course, the time period required for that is going to be longer than you would probably imagine. But spiritual development doesn't work in terms of minutes or days. We are talking about a period of time. And we all learned how to, and we talked about spiritual development. One of the things, or one of the markers could be the connection with the soul. And I think everybody here has everyone who has not done achieving oneness with the higher soul in this group? Okay, I'll plug the book and course again. You know where to go, you know what to do. But we learn techniques in terms of how to scan, for example, the spiritual cord. And that can be a very good parameter, right? So you can measure the development, you can measure the progress over a period of time before doing Arhatic yoga, while doing Arhatic yoga, after practicing it for maybe say a year or a couple of years. So it is something which can be quantified. And as Master Choa says that the connection with spirit, with the soul is always there. The question is what's the quantity? Can you specify that? That is very, very important. So this is a systematic path. So once you follow it, that connection should increase and we can validate that. The other bit okay. The other thing that we talked about here is that it's an accelerated way of doing it. It's one of the fastest ways of doing it, and it's one of the safest ways of doing it. And it's important for all of us to understand that fastest ideally should not be the goal. Safest and fastest is put together is a good objective to have when we're talking about spiritual development. Okay. I'll take a pause here. Any questions, comments so far? Which basically tells you I just wanted to get a glass of water. Okay. Moving on. Why do this? Okay. Again, I keep asking these questions every week. Why do we get together on a Wednesday evening now with beautiful weather outside and sit in front of our computers to discuss a few things, right? So it's important to understand our motives behind it, whatever the motives, right? Some of the good ones are on the screen right now. Some of the other ones, I'll discuss those as well, because I've heard of a few. I've seen a few. We've come across some real motives and not so real motives. But one of the things when we're talking about spiritual development, and this is where some people, they might be turned off towards Arhatic yoga or any practice. They're like, I'm not interested in spiritual development. It's not something for me. Maybe I'll do this later in life. Right now, I want to enjoy life and just have a good one. Uh, so thank you, but let's talk in 20 years. So I get that. And that's why I haven't put spiritual development as one of the, as the first one, but more as the second one. And within that also there are components. So whenever we are talking about spiritual development, through Adhatic yoga or through any other means, we're talking about an improved soul control in our lives. What does that mean? It means we'll have a much better control over our thoughts, emotions, and words, and hopefully the life will be less chaotic. Okay, let me again go back. Okay. As you advance in the practice of Adhatic yoga, you will achieve self-mastery. Life will not be emotionally chaotic. Your soul will be in the controls of your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions. What is transformation? Transformation occurs when a greater quantity of soul energy descends into the lower chakras and regulate them. Another term for regulating lower chakras is self-mastery. Transformation requires awareness. Without awareness, one cannot control oneself. One cannot achieve self-mastery and transformation. So, one of the biggest objective, one of the biggest outcome of Arhatic yoga is to achieve this self-mastery, a better control over our lives. And I think this is something we can all get on board with. It would be nice to not look back at your day or the week and like, oh, I wish I had done things differently. I wish I had not reacted that way. I wish I was not suffering with this anger, resentment, depression, whatever it is, you know. So that's a very, it's a very, as I said, this a structured, systematic, and accelerated way to achieve that state and to get to that position. And life becomes better. And if time permits, we'll talk about a few stories. But personally, over the period of time that I have been practicing, or I have my friends have been, I can I can kind of attest to this, that there are changes which happen, which over a period of time are incredible to observe. People change, people's behavior change, and yeah, it's nice. It's like strangers or people who know you from distance can come and say, "Hey, something has changed. What are you up to?" Which is a very good validation. My sister once asked me, and I was more proud of that than any of the number of meditations or other things that I had done, because of course she's somebody who's known me from childhood, right? So that's a very important driver. The other thing is, once we achieve what Master Choa described as inner transformation, a quality of life improves across the board. So it is not just about, okay, I have more control over emotions. No, our health improves. You will have a healthier life. Well, we can kind of deduce that. We have talked about how emotions affect our physical health as well, and of course, the emotional and mental health directly. Uh, our situation with prosperity and money, that gets affected as well. Again, very good and tangible reasons to that. Our relationships improve. As you can imagine, as your size of your chakras, the quality of the energy in the system increases, it directly affects our relationships as well. What else do we want? Oh yeah, we become smarter, which is, well, I always love that. So um, I haven't tested this, but I'm sure there are tests which can help us get there as well. Uh, but the reason, when you do Arhatic yoga, you will be able to then attend retreats. And one of the things that I hear again and again in retreats is a description of somebody who's practicing Arhatic yoga for a long period of time. So if you observe these within yourself, or if you target these, then Arhatic yoga is a very good place to be. Master Choa Kok Sui describes an Arhatic practitioner as somebody with a sharp, intelligent mind, refined emotions, and a strong will. So all three aspects of our being improve. So you can expect greater intelligence. It also comes from the fact that you have more clarity. So, and we'll talk about some of the meditations which help you upgrade your brain directly. So both put together, uh, less fogginess and more clarity. I think I love that. I'm sure all of us can appreciate that. So there's an intelligence aspect to it. There's emotional resilience, and um, the one another term that Master Choa used to use is, and when we have a lot of stress, anxiety, and some of these emotions in our system, I think everybody has done pranic healing, so we can even kind of picture it. Imagine your aura, which is like an egg-shaped thing. And imagine what happens if this is full of energy of stress, anger, resentment, depression, all those negative things that we want to avoid. What it effectively does is, Master Choa used to say that when somebody has too much stress in their body, they crack easily. And this is a term that we have heard a lot of times in our daily life. Somebody cracks under pressure, somebody cracked because of. Now, the way I picture it, and this is not from the books, totally my interpretation, is if I imagine my aura or as an eggshell, and if there is too much stress into it, the surface becomes brittle, and just a little bit of something can crack it. So by practicing Arhatic yoga and targeting spiritual development, I'm increasing the quality of energy within my system and avoiding this. And you'll be surprised with the level of patience, tolerance that you develop, whether you want to or not. It happens. So that's always the case. So that's again a very, very good reason as to why do that. And as you will look at the structure of Arhatic yoga, you will see that this is actually a very good framework to live your life. Now, most of us, if not all of us, end up just drifting through life, right? Days, years, they go by with no tangible targets. Some of us have targets related to a profession, maybe about money, maybe health. Some of us don't. This gives us a very good framework to actually work through it, right? Again, not the only framework. Maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't, but it is worth evaluating. And I think this is one thing which I would encourage everyone, right? Master Choa says nothing has to be taken blindly. Everything needs to be understood, questioned, reasoned, and then accepted if it works for you. But for us to do that, we have to conduct the experiment. You have to learn the teachings, you have to apply them over the period of time and then see. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, maybe it's not for you, right? So these are, let me just, one thing about your healing ability. So I will go now to advanced pranic. Okay. Students of pranic healing can become more powerful and effective healers by regularly practicing Arhatic meditation. Arhatic meditation causes the chakras to become bigger and move a lot faster. So this is technical language in terms of what happens when we do Arhatic yoga. But since we have all taken pranic healing, we understand that. It causes the energy body and the auras of the practitioners to become bigger, denser, and more defined. More refined. Thereby, it enables the practitioner to heal very fast and more effectively. People practicing healing or people who want to practice healing. Excellent idea to improve the quality of your energy body. Adhatic yoga is one of the safest, fastest, structured, systematic ways of doing it. Okay. So again, pause. This is what the books tell us. I'll tell you two things more that are beyond the book. Uh, but anything comes to mind for anyone? Oh, I better hurry up. This is 8 o'clock already. Okay. So we will hurry up. Let's talk about the structure of Adhatic yoga, right? So as I said, Adhatic yoga is a systematic way, a structured way of doing things. To get the details of what we're talking about right now, we can go to the origin of modern pranic healing and Adhatic yoga. As I said, this is a origin story, but Master Choa describes his way of putting the Adhatic teachings together. So we are looking at 5 pillars, hence structured. Pillar number 1 is devotion to the Supreme Being and reverence to the spiritual teacher. Pillar 2 is purification, meditations, study, service, and tithing. Okay. So again, as I said, today's discussion is to give you an idea of what the structure is, to understand what everything entails to the course. Okay. But we'll cover this in a bit of detail, right? So let's look at what it means and why is it important, and we'll leave it at that, right? So number 1, devotion to God and reverence to the teacher. Devotion to the God, I'm reading from the book. Devotion to God and reverence to the teacher are very important. Without devotion to God, um, without devotion to God, or at least reverence to God, the practice of Arhatic yoga would not be possible. Reverence towards the teacher is very important. The teacher is like an electric outlet for blessings of God passing through the great ones. Without divine blessings from God and the great ones, there is minimal divine guidance, minimal divine help, and minimal divine protection. There is only one teacher of Arhatic yoga, which is Master Choa. The rest of the people are senior disciples or instructors. So three things maybe. Let's summarize. Why do we need this? Right. The reason why pillar number 1 is important is because it's like plugging into a power source. Think about any spiritual practice, and this is why it is important to do it with authorized people, with authorized instructors and trainers. Because in any spiritual system to have maximum effect, we need 3 things. We need teachings, which is the theory, understanding of what is it that we're talking about. We need techniques. Techniques are essentially the actual way of doing some of these meditation practices, purification practices. And third, and the most important thing, is we need the energy. Teachings you can pick from the book, well, or these sessions are also giving us some teachings. Techniques you can learn from anybody who has done that thing consistently over a period of time, but there is nobody who can provide you the energy. And that is why it is very important to have gratitude to your energy source. People misunderstand this pillar quite a lot. A lot of people believe I need faith to continue on a path like Arhatic yoga or any spiritual development. Please read the words again. There is no faith in that definition. It is just about having proper respect and awareness of the fact that you are plugging into a higher source. Okay, so keep that in mind. Let's talk about purification. I will not talk too much about purification because I think for the last 6 months, that's what we have been talking about in terms of character building. But if you look at simply what purification is and the purpose of purification, let's do that. Okay. Purpose of purification. We're diving into Lotus Sutras again. Purification is necessary in achieving calmness and stillness. If you want tremendous spiritual energy to pass through the body, you must purify. Purification of the body and that of the soul is necessary for spiritual development. Okay. So we are talking about Arhatic yoga as a path towards spiritual development. And this is why purification is super necessary, because if you think about, and continuing the power source analogy, this is about removing resistance from the system and improving your conductivity. So that's the purpose of purification. And we talked about accelerated spiritual growth through Arhatic yoga. And this is one of the most important reasons why Arhatic yoga works at a pace it does compared to some of the other things which are out there, is because of purification. And this is, in my experience, very unique to Arhatic yoga. There are very few schools, there are very few teachings which actually emphasize the need for purification. It's just like pranic healing. You will come across a lot of healing modalities, but when you look at the steps of pranic healing, the cleansing step is very unique to pranic healing. You will not find it elsewhere. And that is similar, and that's how my understanding of purification is as well. That lack of purification, as we have covered in our sessions in character building, they can lead to magnification of unwholesome qualities within our system. When this happens, life becomes super interesting in one way or the other. Your health may suffer, your relationship may suffer, your prosperity, your money may suffer. Different things can happen, right? However, if you are working systematically and purification is part of your practice in a regular manner, the way it is supposed to be, before any of these things turn up in your life, you are already taking care of it, right? And this allows you to continue your practice as per the definition, a technical thing we studied about it. This allows you to keep enlarging your chakras, making them spin faster, making your auras bigger, increasing the spiritual connections. So many terms, or in simple terms, enhance your spiritual development, right? Without purification, it is very, very difficult to sustain the practice over a long period of time. And if you get into magnification of your unwholesome qualities, then the chances are that spiritual development wise, we may take a step back or two or more, right? So this is the safety protocol built into it. And according to me, this is me. Nobody has actually, I couldn't find it in the book. I was really looking for this, some master to say very clearly that this is why this is the fastest path, or it's a very, very fast path. But I've come across many videos of Master Choa Kok Sui, which some of you might have seen these released over full moon. And there's only one where Master Choa Kok Sui has talked about guaranteeing spiritual progress. And he did not talk about meditations, he talked about purification. So if you practice purification diligently, your spiritual growth is guaranteed. I like that. Sounds like a good idea. So uh, what you will learn in the class is how to do the purifications, right? So I've put them in two categories. Uh, they will talk about physical purification, which is a combination of diet and exercises. Uh, then, uh, when I say exercises, it's both physical and breathing exercises, right? And one of the things that you will learn, which might be of interest to this group, is a specific kind of yawning, which helps get rid of dirty disease energy from our system. So that is something which is also a part of what we learn in this class. When it comes to inner purifications, we learn, well, we have learned in a reflection and film resolution technique in level 1 class. We have learned this in psychotherapy advanced. It is part of everything because as you continue on in this school, on this path, you will realize that one of the most important things that we can do is something that we learned on day one of our class, which was inner reflection and firm resolution. So that will continue. But we also get a new technique. That's a very surgical technique developed over a period of time. Super, super cool. Takes about 5 minutes, and you learn it in the Arhatic yoga class. So have a look. And in my opinion, I mean, everything that I'm talking about, that individual components, they're absolutely worth going to the class just for themselves. But this is one of the this is the fastest way of getting rid of some of your unwholesome or negative qualities or things that are bothering you. For example, you're stressed, you're angry, you're upset, or you're suffering from low self-esteem. These techniques put together can help you get rid of that, and you will feel, well, you should feel. In my experience, and let me just talk about my own experience, I end up feeling better within minutes. So it's super, super fast. Right? The third pillar of Arhatic yoga that we talked about is meditation. Let's go back to the book. So what we already do is meditation on twin hearts, right? Okay. Spiritual practices on meditation. And this is from the Origins book. To accelerate the spiritual evolution of the soul, it is necessary to do meditations or spiritual practice regularly, not daily. In Arhatic Yoga preparatory level, there are 4 meditations which the spiritual aspirant must practice regularly. Meditation on twin hearts, meditation on blue pearl, Arhatic kundalini meditation, and Arhatic dhyan. Okay? So for those of you who have done the healing classes, you already know, well, all of you here know how to do meditation on twin hearts. If somebody doesn't, please raise your hand. We'll cover it again. Not today, but next time. I should have asked before we started the session. But well, I'm aware of the fact that everybody here knows how to do that. For those of you who have done Achieving Oneness class, you already know how to do the meditation on blue pearl as well. If you haven't, then you will learn it in Arhatic Prep. In addition to that, you learn 2 more meditations there. One is Kundalini, one is Dhyan. And I've just captured the purposes of this meditation from the book. But these are, I mean, each and every meditation can take a session in itself. And once we have the Arhatic class in October, I'll work with Gauri and we have a plan of doing the sessions like this, but for Arhatic studies, and then we'll cover in detail. But if you look at this, right, I talked a little bit about Kundalini meditation, and Master Choa also talked about Kundalini meditation. Now, if you Google Kundalini today, I assure you, you will find about 100,000 plus hits. Different ways of doing Kundalini meditation, different people talking about it. It's actually a fashionable thing as well. You'll find a lot of Instagram content about Kundalini meditation as well. So it's very nice to be curious. I would highly, highly recommend to not follow any of those. And the reason being not because they are not superior. I haven't tried them, so I can't tell you whether it's good or bad. But the one thing which is very important is Kundalini meditation needs to be done in a safe manner. What you learn in Arhatic yoga is probably the safest way of doing Kundalini meditation because you're unlocking a specific energy which can have the fertilizing effect that we talked about, which can again make your life super interesting. And there are about 1 million wrong ways of doing this meditation. So for the right way, please learn this in Arhatic yoga. If you don't, if for some reasons we are not able to at this point, my request would be to not, well, let's say that's a safety protocol. Everybody is an adult, they can pick and choose, and maybe certain meditations work for certain people. And as I said, I haven't tried any other Kundalini meditation in my time. Once I learned about this, I was, yeah, that's okay by me. My journey was a little different. But in case somebody is coming here with many experimentations and other things, just keep in mind, safety first is very, very important in this meditation, right? Okay, so, and we learn how to safely awaken the Kundalini. And we'll talk a lot about it after we have done the meditation, all of us, because there's lots to talk about. And I'll point you to some fantastic sources to learn a lot more about this. And Helen can fill another bookshelf with books just on this topic. Okay. The fourth meditation is called Arhatic Dhyan. Arhatic Dhyan is a meditation. The key purpose is to improve our sensitivity. Sensitivity to what would be a very nice question to ask at this point, and nobody's asking questions yet. But okay. Sensitivity is, well, let's say one of the benefits of Arhatic Yoga is highly developed intuition. Intuition is effectively direct information being delivered to you by certain sources, which are not your logical thinking brain. Let's put it that way to keep it least, what do you say, controversial. But in simple way, it's a way of directly knowing something. So your soul, in this case, is sending you data, information, signals for you to have certain information. And it could be as simple as you're about to do something, but you can hear the voice in your head, don't do this. No, just that, something like that. And you don't know where it came from, but it's not even a voice, it's like you know it. And that is what intuition is all about. That's one way of looking at it. And as we develop our intuition in a very, very high manner, people with highly developed intuition are able to get a lot of information and data. It's like you have access to some higher source of learning and you can plug into it. It's almost like Matrix, if you guys have seen that movie. When Neo is getting trained, somebody is just going to put a disc in. Okay, now you learn jujutsu. That's it. Information passed on to you. Now you can fly a helicopter, information passed on to you. You don't have to go through the logical steps. However, information might be coming your way, but your radar or your receptors may not be sensitive enough to actually pick them up. So there's no point. Your higher soul or your intuition might be telling you to do something or to not do something. But if you haven't trained yourself to actually register those signals, then there's nothing you can do about it. It might as well be in Greek or whatever. I mean, I don't know if anybody here speaks Greek, but then it makes sense to you. But you get my point. So Aratik Dhyan is a meditation which helps us develop that. Okay. And again, you learn how to do this in Aratik Yoga. So your meditation practice is going to upgrade from twin hearts to three more. Or if you're already doing blue pearl, then from two to four. So this is what you learn in Aratik Yoga class. Okay. I've already come to conclusion. This was not that bad. I did not talk about pillar number 4 and pillar number 5, but these are the ones. But let's go back to them for a second because it is important. Where are we? I had something hidden here. Okay. Purpose. Hara. Really. Why are these pillars structured the way they are structured? Why is each and every one of them important, right? When I'm not discussing a lot on pillar number 4, which is tithing and service, you will have that discussion. The name is self-explanatory, but you will learn why it is important in much more detail. And the reason it is important, as when Master Choa is teaching this class, he would typically call this an insurance policy. That when you are about to get on a path of spiritual development, tremendous things happen. And in a very simple term, spiritual development is like going to a school. An accelerated spiritual development is going to one of those advanced schools, which is for highly intelligent students, where they put them through classes much faster. To go from one class to other or to progress, you have to keep taking tests and exams. So if you're accelerating, you have many more exams and many more tests coming your way. What does test mean in life terms? Test of patience, test of resilience, test of handling money, test of dealing with difficult relationship, a lot of these things. A term used a lot of time is about um, what do we call it? Manifestation of your karma or your karma getting materialized over a period of time. So if you're learning, you will have faster lessons, which means your life can again be interesting. Some people get scared by that, but it's a lesson, it's an opportunity to learn. It's just like picking up dumbbells and doing certain exercises to strengthen certain muscle or part of our body. But to make sure they don't make life too interesting or don't deter you from your path or make your life difficult, pillar number 4 becomes very important. By doing service and tithing, you are actively generating good karma or positive karma, which will allow negation of anything dramatic that may or may not happen in your life, right? Hence the term insurance policy. That's one. Second is, we talked about what Arhatic yoga does as per the level one book: increased size of chakras, auras, denser and refined energy body, which essentially means you are now a carrier of a lot of energy. Master Choa uses the term of carrier as in the ship which takes goods and containers. Right? So if you're becoming bigger, you have a lot more energy. What is the end purpose of doing that? Keep that in mind. It allows you to help other people. A systematic service and tithing schedule or approach gives you outlet to these energies. You know exactly what you can do. It's a good idea to think about these, right? How do you want to help people? And a lot of people, especially when we are talking about Arhatic yoga and pranic healing, and jump to say, hey, I can heal. Yes, you can heal. Healing is a very, very good way of doing service, but healing is not the only way of doing service. It's one. I'm sure there are thousands, and we can all think about that. And the only thing to note here is tithing and service. So you'll understand the importance of why both are important and not just one. So time and money, both. Okay. Last bit is last pillar is called study. Again, a pillar which is ignored, but not by this group. We are here, we are studying, we are referring to books. So kudos to us. We can celebrate again. Another opportunity to feel good about ourselves. But let's understand why it is important, right? It is important for context. When we're talking about, for example, when we're talking about spiritual development, this is a very vague concept to a lot of people, including us. But we have found certain parameters, certain ways to define it purely by studying a book. So as you study a lot more and different kind of books, and in Arhatic Yoga, when you go to the class, you will be given a recommended list of books, which can be a starting point. So I can't zoom in, otherwise I will start looking at the ones behind Helen. But yes, you can fill libraries, and you can imagine, right? I mean, when initially I started, I thought I was very naive, um, quite arrogant, and I used to think there are hardly any books which stitch everything together. So I'm going to write my own books. It's not a bad idea to write your own books, but I wasn't aware of any existing good ones. And what I wanted to learn and wanted to understand, I couldn't figure out till I started reading Master Choa's book, which was brilliant and made me realize how naive I was. But hey, it's a good ambition to have. Uh, but there are quite a lot of books. Again, it's like Google search, right? There are quite a lot of books. But to study the right ones will allow us to understand the spiritual development and the journey around it. That is why that pillar is very, very important. Otherwise, with zero understanding or with minimal understanding, it is difficult to sustain the whole practice. You lose the sense of it. You lose the context of it. Why are you doing what you are doing? And as I guess you guys can understand from the way I talk, I'm a big fan of understanding something before doing it or the reasons behind why I'm doing it, right? And these books, they kind of give you the vocabulary, they give you the alphabets of what spiritual development is all about. And because of that, it is necessary, and it again accelerates your spiritual progress. For people who are having spiritual experiences, uh, good for you guys. But it will help you understand your spiritual experiences better, because if you're seeing an image, somebody needs to explain to you what that image is all about. Otherwise, you can't use it. Otherwise, it's just a flashy, nice picture. You can say, hey, it's beautiful, and you move on. But if you understand, then you know, okay, because these can again be, we talked about intuition, we talked about messages directly being delivered to us. They may come to you in pictures. You need to understand pictures. So it's like doing an art course to make sure you understand what you're looking at, right? So those are I'll, I'll pause actually. Let me pause. And so I'm finished with structures. I just want to end with a couple of things, but let me see you guys better. And let's take, I haven't taken a single question in this session. This needs to change. Somebody needs to ask me something so that I can say I don't know.
Mm.
Go for it, anyone. Lucy, you have something?
Hi Sid. Yeah, thanks for taking this session tonight. I've just turned my camera on. Oh, there I am. Yeah, thanks
Hey.
so much for holding this tonight. Firstly, I haven't met you before, so it's nice to meet you. Um, and yes, I just wondered because there seems to be quite it's quite a big concept, isn't it? Working with energy in this day and age, we want to increase our understanding of it and why we're doing it and how it's done safely, and for those around us as well, for people around us, especially some people. I mean, I'm not dissing religion at all, but it's it's a scary concept for some people
Uh-huh.
to understand. So not only for myself, but to understand that it's a good thing to develop spiritually away from religion, and can be done away from religion for good purposes. So yeah, I don't know if you can recommend any books for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Ta-da. Let's move on it.
Yeah, I've
I
got
would,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So for people who want to understand energy and s- a starting point from learning what spiritual means itself, right? Because the word is used so often that people don't really pause to understand what we're talking about. The moment we say spiritual, it means something about spirit. What is spirit? And you need to understand that concept. So, the best book, according to me, to do that is this one, Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul. It effectively gives you the anatomy of spirit and what spiritual is all about. What are the different components? What are the different layers around it? More
Mm,
important, so that's the theory of it. It also tells you how to practically make use of that knowledge in our day-to-day life to make our lives better, right? And
mm,
that's one of the big reasons why I'm a huge fan of Master Choa's books. So this
mm,
would be a very good starting point from learning that. From learning about energy specifically, the level one book or the Ancient Science and Art of Pranic Healing is an excellent starting point. Once you do
okay.
that, once you read this, you will be curious about advanced pranic healing. Once you do read that, you will be curious about psychotherapy. But this is a starting point. And you ask a very good question, actually, because for people who are here, who have done pranic healing and Arhatic or meditation on twin hearts, we are aware of the existence of energy body. We are aware of the existence of energy itself. But if you look at an outsider's perspective, these are alien concepts.
Mm,
That's why Master Choa says, the first thing that we read is that pranic healing is a bridge to spirituality. Because suddenly your brain is now accepting the fact that there is something called an energy body, there is something called chakras and all of that. So it's super, super cool that way. So my starting point will be these two books. So if this is for you or if you want someone else, if you want to refer, start with these two. After that, let the curiosity take them
mm.
further.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that.
Yeah, of
Appreciate it.
course. Pleasure. Anybody else? Gail, I think you had something.
Yes, I don't want to jump the gun too much, but
Jump away. We'll see.
so with the pranic healing, we do level one, level two, psychotherapy, crystal, da 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 da. So
Uh-huh.
with Arhatic, so we're going to do Arhatic prep. This is called, is it?
Yeah, preparatory levels of prep, yes.
So what comes after that?
You are jumping the gun. Okay. Okay. Hey, I mean, okay. This book, Origins book, is a very good answer to that.
Hmm.
Because Master Choa has described what is the practice of Adhattic yoga that I think you can sustain for the next 25 years or so, or at least 15 years. And some of the end part of it, he has made it very clear that, yeah, probably you're never gonna get there. But that's okay. Okay, but just let me read from this book for you. Okay, and I will. Actually, I thought of covering that, but I thought, hey, let people learn about preparatory level, and then we will see. So once you do Adhatic preparatory level, the name itself, prep, tells you that you are preparing for something. Right? What you are preparing for is further advanced techniques in Arhatic yoga. And I think you can use your deductions here that we talked about increasing the size of our chakras, of our auras, making the energy bodies denser and more refined. That's how it's been described in the book. So there are further techniques which build on top of the prep techniques. to achieve these objectives. And this book tells you about, so the chapter 14 is called The Development of Arhatic Yoga. And I'll just read the TOC from this. First topic, Arhatic Yoga level 1, then level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and higher. Okay. So there is very, very clear description of what every individual level entails. So a lot of people think, hey, oh my God, this must be some secret techniques and secret things. Techniques are, well, not secret, but it's like they have a prerequisite. It's just like going to school. You need to do the class one before you go to the next one. But what exactly is the outcome of those? It's written in the book. So Gail, I'll recommend you get the book. I can read it, but it's going to take us another hour.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Thank you.
Anything else comes to mind?
I'm
The only
interested to. Oh, sorry, Gail, you go ahead.
Yeah, finish
just
it.
a quick one. So the pillars, is it a kind of consecutive or concurrent? Do you have to do one before you can move on to the other, or is it something you embrace and try and
Okay.
learn as a
Okay.
job
Literally
lot?
think of them as a pillar. You're holding a ceiling together. You remove one, it falls apart. So you have to do practice all. And and I can assure you, I have met Arhatic practitioners all over the world, and people forget this concept because they always have favorites. I love doing meditations. I'm going to do so much more. I don't feel like doing any tithing or service. Study, it's okay, it doesn't matter. I'm getting blissed out. I don't need to understand what's happening here, right? Or I don't like purifications, right? So every one of them, keep this in mind. When you forget, remind each other. Every single one of them is important. That is what systematic approach is. If you're going to put one aside, then you're not going to get the results that you're actually going for. So it is very, very important to do that, and and just look at the order. Master Choa normally was a very methodical person. He put everything in a certain order to make sure we understand this. And uh, if we look at the pillars again, right? Let me just bring this back one more time because you have effectively asked my favorite question, so I'll spend some time. Right? Look at these pillars. There's a purpose. If you're doing purifications, meditations without having a pillar number one, you did not plug into the energy source. So yes, you're doing the right things, but you don't have access to energy. So as he said in the book, you're going to have minimal protection, minimal guidance, minimal help. So it's a very, very good idea to ensure that you spend some time on pillar number one. And during the Arhatic prep class, you will learn how to actively do that, right? And that's very important. If you do jump to pillar three, then yes, you're going to crank up the energy. You're going to have a lot more energy flowing through your system because you're plugged in and now you're doing something to increase the size of your chakras, but you did not do purification. Okay. Recipe for disaster. Master Choa calls that as a spiritual suicide in this book. So very, very strong. Same for service and tithing. We talked about this when interesting things happen in life, you can negate the effect. So you want to do that, otherwise, hey, this thing was supposed to work for your betterment, not to make your life worse, right? And again, as I talked about study, if you don't study, you don't know this stuff. So hence, all important, all need to be done, all need to be done simultaneously. It's like you're increasing the height of your building. So you develop all pillars simultaneously, but you keep going up and up and up. That's probably a good way of looking at it. Helen, you had something.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, I was interested to know your stories of how it's impacted you and the people that you know doing it.
Okay, next question. I'll come back to it. Any questions on technique, structure, and anything? Okay. How has it impacted me? Oh, that's not my favorite question, by the way. Okay, as I said, We started with the objectives of Arhatic yoga, and this is true for pretty much everybody who practices Arhatic yoga. So not just me, but people that I know and people who have been practicing, right? As let me actually just read one more bit before I answer your question, and I'm not going to run away from that, I promise. Okay. So the last bit which I wanted to cover. In Arhatic yoga, an entire system has been given to you. First, you must know or understand, then you must remember, then practice, and finally master the techniques and teachings. All you have to do is follow the system. Knowing alone is not enough. There is nothing to be proud about. One must remember the teachings, regularly practice the teaching until they are mastered. Okay. As you advance in the practice of Arhatic yoga, you will achieve self-mastery and life will be emotionally less chaotic. So this is an important bit, and I think it comes up again and again. Attending a class, getting a certificate is a start, and why that is important. We talked about going to authorized sources and doing it properly so that you can plug into the energy. Without that, you're not doing that, right? However, just doing a class is not the end of it and probably not going to be very useful, right? It's just like you read a book, but you never actually went back to it. You have to practice it, you have to revise it again and again. Or maybe learning a language is a better example, right? You can learn a language, you can read a few things about a certain language, but if you're not putting it in practice, it is not going to give you the benefit. But if you do put it in practice, then the benefits that we talked about, they are universal. So let's talk about it. Highly refined emotional body. And sorry, I'm just thinking, should I stop the recording? Okay. Well, so I ended up with a slightly more refined energy body. Let's put it that way. But okay, let's keep recording. I'll edit it out if I feel uncomfortable later. Um, but here's the thing, right? I've come across a lot of people who got into pranic healing and Adhatic yoga because of certain need. Maybe there was a crisis in life, could be health related, or maybe they were fumbling around some spirituality, or they were just unhappy and dissatisfied. When they came to Adhatic yoga or pranic healing, they learned healing techniques. They were able to heal their bodies. They experienced miraculous healing. Fantastic. People who were feeling lost certainly found that there is a spiritual path, which is one of the biggest reasons why people get into a spiritual path is they think something is missing, right? And it's a quest to find what that is. I had none of that. I'm blessed that way. I was not having any problems. I came to these classes purely out of curiosity. I heard about the Achieving Oneness class. I liked the concept. It kind of resonated in terms of, hey, this makes sense, and I would like to find out. And I ended up in a class. The amount of time that I took from knowing about it to getting to a class was about 48 hours. That's it. It just was happening and I ended up there. Then I loved the concept. I loved the teachings. And I went ahead and the question that I asked people in my instructor, that can you please tell me if there's an Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul part 2 that I can do? Because I love that class. And they said yes, but it's called Arhatic Yoga. So I'm like, okay, let's sign me up and I want to study that. That's how I got to it, right? So, but for so the reason I'm telling you that is I wasn't suffering in a manner that I can tell you that, hey, I did Arhatic yoga and suddenly this happened. But what has happened with me has been slow. And I'm happy about that because I have seen people whose lives go through big ups and downs when they start doing it. Fortunately, I was blessed. Or maybe I practiced the 5 pillars knowingly, unknowingly, and all of them kind of came together. But I have changed the way, and I won't say about myself from my own perspective, but I met a few people in about 5 years after doing Adhatic yoga, 10 years after Adhatic yoga, and they had known me. And they are the ones who told me about the changes they have seen. Apparently, people were scared of me. They thought I was too rude, too harsh, too blunt, and did not want to be in my company. I did not know that. I thought I was a wonderful person. Uh, but maybe not so. And then somebody I used to be his manager, so he was scared of me by definition for some reason. He's also an Arhatic practitioner. Many, many years later, after we are no longer working together, I go to an Arhatic retreat. So another reason to do Arhatic yoga is you can go to Arhatic retreats, which I would highly recommend. And I turn around, and the guy sitting next to me in a crowd of 2,000 people is this one guy. And he looks at me, I look at him like, hey, what are you doing here? So nice to meet, blah, blah, blah. Retreat is a 2.5, 3 day event. At the end of 2 days, he came and said, "Hey, Sid, you seem to be a completely different person." And I'm like, okay, can you elaborate? I'm like, and then he started telling me, you were this, you were that. And I got offended. I'm like, okay, is there something positive coming at the end of it? And he's like, yes, but you have turned it around completely. You're so loving, kind, and I can talk to you. And I was like, okay, mate, we are in a retreat. Everybody is loving and kind here. Meet me outside. And that's true, right? And when we get in spiritual groups, everybody is on their best behavior. Their patience levels are tremendous. They're all loving and kind to each other. But the test is in the real life. But after spending some time, he was able to tell me that, and some other people told me. So, hey, I think I became a better person, Helen, out of this. I had, I would say, less anger, less irritation, more importantly, better control over these things. These things are never going away. You remember there's this movie, Doctor Strange, but the master says you never lose your demons, you just learn to live above them. So I'm a big fan of that movie. If you haven't seen, I'm plugging a movie as well. Uh, but but that's it. You get, as the books told us, right? You get self-mastery. You get you can control your thoughts, emotions much better. And that I can vouch for. I genuinely think I can better than I used to do 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And I think it's a path that keeps going. I will still lose my cool. I mean, all of that happens, right? We are not saints here. Nobody here this. I can assure you, anybody you meet who tells you that I have practiced Arhatic yoga for 10 years and I am a perfect human being, run away. Something is not right there. So that's probably one thing I can say. And yeah, I enjoy that. And I have been doing this for more than a decade. And to some extent, I would say I've been practicing for that time. As Master said, knowing it is not important. I came out of my first class and that was it. But yeah, if you practice it, you can see a change in yourself that you have probably better control. And then you can evaluate some of the other things, which is a little difficult to evaluate. How would you evaluate your health benefits? If you had poor health and if it improves, then yes. But how do you know that had you not done that, what would have happened? I don't know. At one point, you get to a thing that Arhatic yoga feels like a way of life. That's why I say it's a very nice framework to have. I want to practice 5 pillars, right? I want to practice purification. I want to practice character building, which means I want to practice the virtues. I would like to be loving and kind and not be hurtful. And this kind of gives that nice framework. Another side effect of doing Arhatic yoga, which actually a friend of mine came to me a few weeks ago, maybe. And she thinks she's weird. She like said, I'm just so weird. And my instant response to her was like, you're not weird, you just haven't found your people yet. And Arhatic yoga is a collection of people, which is some of them are a little funky, let's say. Because let's face it, right? You're talking about, as Lucy mentioned, right? We're talking about people who understand energy, who suddenly get their hand up for everything. They either start scanning or start cleaning or start cutting. God knows what they're doing. For an outsider, that's a very, very weird thing to see. And again, if you want to experience that, go to a retreat which is getting conducted in a regular hotel where you have 100 people practicing Arhatic yoga and 50 guests who are just having a great time and a party, and they look at you like, what is happening here? It is super funny. Okay.
So have you had a Kundalini awakening, or is that something you're working towards? Is that like how does that happen with practice? How
Okay, so everybody, thank you for joining this session, and I hope it gave you a good understanding of Arhatic yoga. And if you have any questions, please feel to reach out.